This woman, after her near-death experience, she nearly died and found humans are a temporary symbiosis between two beings, one mortal and one immortal. That is, our physical body and our soul, our spiritual body. And she says death does not exist, only transition. This woman nearly died in the ICU. She claims she watched herself lying in bed and found that humans are a temporary symbiosis between two beings, one mortal, one immortal. Death does not exist, only transition. Her name is Julia Fischer from Vienna, and she had a near-death experience at the age of 6. She recalled the incident from 2003 when she was 6 years old. She describes waking up with a severe headache, which led to her collapsing shortly afterwards. This event marked the beginning of a life-threatening cerebral hemorrhage, resulting in her being taken to the hospital and placed in intensive care for 2 weeks. While in intensive care, Fisher had a near-death experience. She describes the sensation of slipping out of her body, feeling as though a layer was lifted off her. She found herself floating about 2 meters above her bed, observing her own body lying with tubes connected to her head. Initially, she did not fully understand what was happening, but soon realized that something was not right. This realization led her to the conclusion that she might be dead. Fisher explained how the experience differed from looking at herself in a mirror. As a child, being 2 meters above herself was an unusual perspective. She observed herself and the surrounding medical equipment with a sense of detachment and lightness, a feeling she described as being as light as a feather. Despite trying to look at her feet or hands, she could not see them, emphasizing the disembodied nature of her experience. She said, "The most impressive part was the unbelievable silence, a silence that I don't think we can experience at all in this world. It was like pressing a pause button, no background noise. You see everything in slow motion. That's how I perceived it. It's a silence we cannot experience on Earth in the same way." Fisher recalls moving towards a door frame filled with light, which had a unique frequency, unlike any light on Earth. She felt drawn to this light, but was suddenly stopped by a voice asking if she wanted to go further. The voice did not belong to any visible person, adding to the mysterious nature of the experience. As she contemplated the question, thoughts of her parents pulled her back to her body with great force. She said, "I had a feeling it was a slightly bluish tint, a mix of white and blue light. I was drawn to it. It was something I had never seen in my life on Earth. I slowly moved towards this light, very slowly, at a walking pace. Then I heard a voice that asked me, 'Girl, do you want to go?' I was asked this question, but I didn't see anybody or anything, just a voice asking, 'Do you want to go?' That was really the exciting part. I was standing in this dark room in front of a door frame filled with white light and this blue color, this unique light frequency. I slowly moved towards this light and I was asked again, 'Girl, would you like to go on?' At that moment, I reflected on the whole situation, if you can put it that way. I thought about it and had only one thought, my parents. They dominated my mind. I immediately thought of my parents, Mom and Dad. As I was having this thought, it was like a force pulling me back, like Mom and Dad were pulling me back to my body at an incredible speed. That was the kind of near-death experience I had," she said. She described the light as evoking feelings of love, security, and being in good hands. The decision to return to her body seemed influenced by her thoughts of her parents, and she felt no pressure from any external force to stay or go. After spending 2 weeks in intensive care and another 2 weeks in a regular ward, Fisher chose not to immediately share her experience with her parents. She felt they were too emotionally fragile at the time. It took her 2 years to process the event herself before discussing it with her mother, who reacted openly and supportively. She discussed how the near-death experience has influenced her life. She mentions that although the experience was clear to her, she understands that others might view her as being unbalanced. She also shares her belief that humans are not truly afraid of death, but rather of their own greatness and immortality. The experience led Fisher to explore spiritual topics from a young age. She attended seminars with her mother and became deeply interested in the meaning of life and what happens after death. She believes that souls come to Earth to experience various aspects of existence, such as forgiveness, by living through specific life events. Fisher notes that since her near-death experience, she has become more sensitive to energies and emotions around her. This heightened sensitivity affects her interactions with people and her ability to handle mass gatherings. She also explains that her spiritual orientation influences her professional choices, leading her to train as a kinesiologist, though she seeks to integrate spirituality more deeply into her work. There's definitely something after death. Jeffrey Long, a radiation oncologist in Kentucky, studied more than 5,000 near-death experiences, and his research has convinced him without a doubt that there's life after death. He claims that he found a pattern of events in near-death experiences. About 45% of people who have NDE report an out-of-body experience. When this happens, their consciousness separates from their physical body, usually hovering above the body. The person can see and hear what's happening around them, which usually includes frantic attempts to revive them. One woman even reported a doctor throwing a tool on the floor when he picked up the wrong one, something the doctor later confirmed. After the out-of-body experience, people say they're transported into another realm. Many pass through a tunnel and experience a bright light, and then they're greeted by deceased loved ones, including pets who are in the prime of their lives. Most people report an overwhelming sense of love and peace. They feel like this other realm is their real home. Dr. Long said these experiences may sound cliché, the bright light, the tunnel, the loved ones, but over 25 years of studying NDEs, I've come to believe that these descriptions have become cultural tropes because they're true. I even worked with a group of children under 5 who had NDEs. They reported the same experiences as adults did, and at that age, you're unlikely to have heard about bright lights or tunnels after you die. Other people reportedly seemingly unbelievable events which we can later confirm. One woman lost consciousness while riding her horse on a trail. Her body stayed on the trail while her consciousness traveled with her horse as he galloped back to the barn. Later, she was able to describe exactly what happened at the barn because she had seen it despite her body not being there. Others who had not spoken to her confirmed her account. American scientist Robert Lanza, MD, also believes that death is not real. He introduced the concept of biocentrism, suggesting that we as living beings are the center of everything around us. And according to him, death exists because we identify ourselves with our bodies, but he argues that a human mind continues to work even though the body stops functioning. This supports his ideas. To support his ideas, Lanza referred to quantum mechanics, suggesting that consciousness is immortal and exists outside of space and time. He explains that the realm of quantum possibilities, various outcomes can occur and human consciousness can smoothly transition to another reality after death. And this is on Hows and Whys by Vicky Verma. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. My Patreon account, the daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.